All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's live stream. We're going to be taking a look at the markets. We're going to look at the crypto market and the legacy markets with a focus on Bitcoin here in the beginning of the live stream. What's up, Odin? So this is a member of the RLZ Trading room. Hope you're doing good. Euro GBP looking interesting. Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at the legacy markets after Bitcoin. So we're going to be looking at Euro GBP as well. So let's just dive right into the Bitcoin chart right here. And if you're watching on YouTube, which you probably are if you're watching, because this is the only place where I'm actually streaming, hit the likes and let's get the likes up. All right, Bitcoin. So I posted a chart on this on Twitter, a quick video on Twitter as well. By the way, Twitter is like the level of engagement on Twitter is so low right now, and the timeline is just, man, it's just so stupid. So I have a feeling that it's not, the engagement on Twitter is not going in the right direction. I am going to focus more on my newsletter. It's completely free. If you want to follow my analysis and all my ideas that I have in the markets, obviously the best place to do that in the RLZ Trading room. But if you want to get it weekly, check out the newsletter. I have a feeling that crypto Twitter is not going to be what it once were with Twitter, unfortunately. Of course, in the bear market, it always gets very quiet on Twitter. But this time around, it's just very, very quiet. And honestly, like the future of Twitter with Elon, it's like I like what it's doing, and I trust that he's going to do something good with it. But it's risky, right? It's the future of Bitcoin. Twitter is definitely, I wouldn't say endangered, but that there's certain question marks around it. Right, so what we have right now is obviously some shit goes down in China. We have lots of protests in China, which is interesting because not last week, but the week, so 2 weeks ago, we had talks about China potentially opening up, right? So potentially opening up more and kind of taking a little bit easy with the COVID restrictions, right? And that caused the markets to enter a risk on period, among certain other things like the inflation in the US looking better and that sort of stuff, right? But the week after, last week, that was, China started talking about the rapid increases of COVID infections, and they started locking down. And that caused the market to obviously trade back on the news from the week before of China opening. And now what we have is some major protests in China of the likes that we haven't seen in quite some time. I believe it started with I think there was like a building on fire, and people got burnt alive because firefighters weren't allowed to enter the building without getting tested for COVID first or something like that. Now, I haven't checked the sources of that or if it's actually true, but I'm hearing some, people talk about that being one of the reasons for the unrest in China right now. Which, if true, I mean, it's fucked up. It is crazy out there. What a world! Absolutely insane. Right. So how is this affecting Bitcoin? And now what I find interesting here is the fact that there's dollar weakness. There's definitely some dollar weakness right here, which makes little sense with Bitcoin also giving us some weakness right here. So what I'm interested in, before we go into the details on the actual setups on Bitcoin and the levels I'm looking at, I want to look at the equities, right? So we got the UK 100, the FTSE 100 moving lower while still in somewhat of an uptrend right here. It's still moving lower, and you know what, let's put a couple of levels on this one because it's actually quite interesting. So I'm not going to deviate too much from Bitcoin here, so I'm just going to go through the overall economics here. So yeah, that's a good level for FTSE 100, and to get a good view of like make some plans for Bitcoin, we have to watch the the general market as well, to kind of get an idea of what's going on here. So the equity markets are moving lower. We are clearly in a risk of not a risk of trend, because obviously the trend is still very bullish, but the local moves, given the circumstances in China, is definitely fueling a risk of push. So equities are moving lower. Let's see what we have on the S&P 500. Of course, also moving lower, and it's also testing a major trend line right here. I do think that trend line might also be confluent with the 618. Yeah, so that's also the short RLC being tested for the S&P 500. It's a very natural area for resistance to come in, and this also of course then translates over to Bitcoin, where we had that rejection at the range EQ. Not sure if I would call this a rejection though, because it's kind of like, you know, consolidation. But if you look at the daily time frame, the rejection is much clearer here, with a sort of rounded top here at range EQ. So what am I thinking for Bitcoin here going forward? Well, we have a couple of scenarios I'm watching. So if the current risk sentiment continues, so if the protests in China continues like they're doing right now, or if it gets even worse, and maybe with that we'll see some other risk of things happening in other parts of the world, like maybe a Fed speaker comes out and says something, you know, hawkish about the hikes, that would bring, you know, add some more risk to the market. If that happens, I'm thinking we're gonna go lower, right? And the obvious level is the range low area. So you see this range right here. The range high is around 17.5, with the range EQ being around 16.6. By the way, guys, like the live stream. I had a comment the other day from somebody saying that if I don't say actually that you should like the video, he always forgets to like the video, and it's such an enormous help for me in the channel if you do hit the like. I like when I tell you guys to like the video, I see the view count just go up drastically for every time I mention it. That's because when you like the video, it kind of activates YouTube algo and recommends this live stream to other people on YouTube, which is obviously great. So if you want more people to get in here, and we, you know, obviously want to share this knowledge to everyone, like the video, and it's highly very much appreciated. So range high at around 17.5, range EQ at 16.6, and range low at around 15.6. That's the range that I'm looking at currently on Bitcoin. Now, it's important to note here that if you are a trend following trader, which I hope that most of you are, because that's the way you should be trading in the beginning. And I do believe that most of you are beginner traders, or maybe break-even traders, maybe not consistently profitable traders, because if you are consistently profitable, you know exactly what system you're trading and how you're trading that, and you're probably a trend following trader. That's most of the people are a trend following trader. If you are a trend following trader, there's not going to be a trade for you here. There's not going to be a trade for you here. Maybe you're trading the 1 hour, the 15-minute, of course, then you can find trends within this overall range. But I would highly recommend that most of you focus on the daily and the 4 hour, especially if you're not full-time traders. You know, if you have a job and you're kind of trading as a hobby, you're trading on the side, you're most likely you don't have the time to be trading low time frames anyway. So you should be focused on the daily and the 4 hour. And there's no trend here for Bitcoin. But still, we're going to be watching a couple of ideas here. So if you have time to be trading these setups, and if you are available when the market gives you the setups, definitely keep your eyes on these ideas. So first, we're going to be covering the risk-off sentiment, the bearish sentiment, and the bearish scenario for Bitcoin. And then we're going to be covering the bullish scenarios for Bitcoin. And with in mind what's going on in China. That's very important right now, because everyone's talking about China. The whole world's eyes are towards China right now. So that's a main sentiment shifter, if you will, right? So if sentiment continues in China like it is right now, we are in the bearish scenario. And what I would say then, what's up, Alexandra? Thank you for that. By the way, I've seen your DM on Discord, and I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna help you out with that. So don't think I'm ignoring you or something. I'm just getting tons of DMs. So Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Right, so you see right here, if you go down to you have a level right here, that white level right here, and the text here says good level for possible shorts on a bearish rejection, right? So let's go into daily, because on the 4-hour, this is a very clear, untested breakout level. Now let's see if it's a clear untested breakout level on the 1-hour as well. And it is. It's a very clear level, right? It's a very clear level. On the 1-hour, however, we could extend the zone a little bit lower, but I'm not going to extend this bigger zone because it makes perfect sense on the 4-hour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be adding another level on the lower time frames. And one cool thing about TradingView here is there's so much things you can do with TradingView here. It's just amazing. And by the way, they have, I'm not affiliated with them, and I'm not saying this to because it's, I'm making money on it, but every year TradingView has a Black Friday sale, and they have it right now as well. It's 60% off. So what people do is, like, everyone that has a TradingView account, they buy it during the Black Friday sales on 60% off. So you buy a yearly membership on the Black Friday, and then you extend that yearly membership on the next Black Friday, because they have 60% off every Black Friday. So that's when you should be buying that yearly plan. So I have a yearly premium plan, which I always upgrade on a yearly basis. So do it when trading is just the best trading, charting tool out there. So what's cool about this one is we can add this level, but only on the 1-hour. You go to visibility, you can untick everything. You can go here and only have it on the 1-hour time frame and lower. So if you go up to the 4-hour, that time frame will not be visible, and that's basically because we don't want all levels to be visible on all time frames, because when you zoom out, it's going to be all lines and levels all over the place. It's going to be very messy. But if you go into 1-hour, and also what we can do here is we can tap that like that, so it's not going to be visible on the 1-hour. So that bigger zone is not going to be visible on the 1-hour. So this is on the 4-hour. Now we know very clear what we're watching on the 1-hour, 4-hour, to get an overall idea of what's happening. We go down into the 1-hour, and we now only have that level, right? Now what we want to do as well is this reload zone here. The reload zone is only really viable for the 4-hour move. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the 4-hour. We're going to be moving that up here, and it will now be won't be visible on the 1-hour. So now what we have here is this much cleaner shot on the 1-hour. Now the range EQ area we want to have on the 1-hour, because we want to get an idea of where the levels are, right? So this is great, right? Now we have a very clean move here, and you guys, if you've been following me for a while, if you're a member of the RLZ Trading room, or if you've been going through my trading program, you probably know what I want to do when you have a move like this. When you have a clean move like this, of course, you're going to put a fib on it. Every single time we have to put a fib on this right here. And what do you see? Well, it's almost like magic. The 0.618 here comes in perfectly on that level. Now let's shift the template here. So we're going to be adding the 50% and the levels for take profit as well. So that's going to be the main template. You can also see here that when I go into the template here, you'll see that I have a lot of different templates here, and it's because the fib tool can be used in so many different ways. There are like different templates for different things, like range, or I guess sometimes I'm going to go through all these templates at some point. Not today though. So from the low to the high, that's the obvious move, and then we're going to be shifting to the main template, which is this one right here, which brings all the TPs and everything on here. So if we enter on the 0.618 right here, which should be the entry, so there's two ways you could be trading this. Either you enter limit sell orders around this area right now with a stop loss here, and you would then have to have TP1, TP2, TP3, and TP4 down here at the -618. Now, watch how perfectly the 0.618 comes in at the breakout. Like, this is just, honestly, like, and I'm going to show you one more thing, which is just amazing. I sometimes I see this and I'm like, it's crazy how these fib levels align so nicely with the levels so often. It's just insane. So you see the 618 comes in absolutely perfectly at the breakdown level, and then the midpoint of the minus reload zone, or the extension reload zone, if you will, comes in almost perfectly in the middle of the range lows. Now watch what happens if I add a fib from that low to that high. Now what happens here is you get the long RLC. It's going to be maybe a little bit confusing here, but bear with me. So you're going to get the long RLC, which is the area where you expect price to bounce, right? So the short RLC is up here, where you put the fibs from that high to that low. You expect a rejection in this area. Now this is an untested breakout level, and from using a bullish fib from that low, to that high, brings in the long RLC right here, okay, which is the untested breakout level, which is just crazy. The untested breakout level comes in with the short RLC, and this untested breakout level comes in at the long RLC. So this area right here will be your main point of profit taking, and that's why also it's a cool thing to see that the TP2 and TP3 aligns with the reload zone right here. So I think that this is actually quite solid short trade right here if we come up and see a confirmation up here. Now what I want to do is I want to go back to the 4 hour, and what I want to do as well is, let's see, so we go down to the 4 hour, back to the 4 hour. Now we're going to be adding let's see, I have to, just give me a second here. I'm going to copy that one. I'm going to bring the, by the way, this, you have indicator templates here on TradingView. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but you have indicator templates, which is great. I have different templates for different trading strategies, and this one is the one I use mostly, right? So I'm going to remove that one, and I'm going to be adding this right here. Move the RLC slingshot indicator up to the top. Right there, and then we have, is that the 100? Yeah, that's the 100, so we're going to be moving that one. Then we have the daily moving averages right here, so that's the daily 20 and the daily 50. So what you have right here is actually a range in an overall downtrend. So when trading a range like this, I would definitely be more interested in shorting, right? So I would be more interested in shorting this range, and I would not be shorting the range highs, because when if price, let's imagine that in the next few hours price just pumps straight up to range high, would I be shorting this? No, I would not be shorting this, because we're above the daily 20 EMA. That move means we have reclaimed the daily 20 EMA, and we're also above the 4 hour moving average. What I like about this setup right here is we're still, even if we are in a range, the overall range looks rather, it looks like to have an overall, like the overall structure of the range is has a tendency of showing a downtrend with lower highs and lower lows, while price is below all the moving averages. And the moving average I use is the daily 20, the daily 50 EMA, as well as the 20 and 50 EMA in the 4 hour. So the possible entry here around range EQ, if you look at the 1 hour, the setup we looked at on the 1 hour, it's also confluent with the 1 hour 20 and the 1 hour 50, as well as the 4 hour 20 and the 4 hour 50. So there's a great confluence in this area right here. So what we want to look at for a possible confirmation of a short trade is we have this breakout right here, breakdown or breakout, I call it breakdown. You want to have like the rounded retest, and it kind of looks like you're getting a rounded retest in the next few 4 hour candles. So it needs to be a clean breakdown, and it is a clean breakdown because the candle goes straight through the level on the 4 hour and the 1 hour without any wicks testing the level. So if you have like one candle and it's closing here, then a wick testing, and then like that is not a clean breakout. This is a clean breakout, but because the candle goes straight through the level and it has not been tested. The first retest has to be that clean rounded retest. So you need time and space between the break and the retest, right? And that time and space creates a rounded retest, and that's because you want to give the market enough time to accept this level as resistance. You know, it's support here, and if it breaks down and retest too quickly, it's probably a fake out, and the market has not been giving enough time to accept that level as broken, and now possibly resistance. So the first retest always has the highest probability of seeing a rejection. That's why we want to trade the first retest and not the second or third retest, because with every new test, the level gets weaker, in the sense that it gets weaker from the direction that it gets tested. So if it gets tested over and over again as resistance, it gets weaker as resistance. But then when it flips to support, the number of tests as resistance determines the strength of the level as resistance or support. So right here you have one test, two tests, three tests, and then it breaks on the fourth retest. Now this is a fairly strong level. It has multiple tests before a breakdown, so it's a fairly strong level. When it gets tested for the first retest, it most likely going to get rejected. Most likely, there's definitely high probability of that happening. So that's a short idea we're watching on Bitcoin. And then TP for this trade would be last TP down here at around the minus 6.618, and the average R of this trade would be somewhere slightly above 2R if you follow these TP strategies. Now, imagine you enter this trade, like it doesn't matter if you enter this trade or if you don't have a trade, but when price comes down to the range low area, remember that the first retest of an unbroken, a broken, untested level has the strongest, biggest probability of seeing a bounce. So when we come down and test this level, there's a fairly high probability that price will bounce. Now, if you're a range trader, you're gonna be wanting to long that trade, right? Now that might, I think the best scenario would be something like this: a big move to the downside, maybe take out the lows, and then a reclaim of range lows. That would be a good area to enter. But you might just get a move like this where a strong 4-hour bullish engulfing candle or something like that. You might want to long that back up to range EQ, or perhaps even the range lows of wherever this move is. If you put the fib from that high down to here, you might see that the 618 or the reload zone comes in here, and you might find that to be a good take profit level of that long trade. So that's the one trade I think looks most probable to work out in current conditions. And then if price moves down here and you're seeing some type of sentiment shift with China and things perhaps calming down in China, you might want to long this. Now imagine if things get better right this very moment or in the next few hours, you might see a move like this and a reclaim of the range EQ area. Now, if you're a range trader, you want to look for a long on the break and retest with a clean breakout, hopefully, and around the retest of the range EQ area that comes in at around 16.6. So you want to look for a confirmation of a bounce here, which in my mind would be a 4-hour bullish engulfing or something similar with stochastics below 30, and you then want to take profit at the range high area, which is 17.5. In this case here, it might actually make sense to keep 25% of the position open, because if we do have a strong risk on push, which I do not think is very probable, you might see something like this, right? So that would be your range high TP. And this one right here is a solid resistance area where you might want to leave part of that position open in case it actually comes up and tests this level. If you add fibs to this move, let's change charts here because it's just very messy with all the drawings on. Let's have a Qcoin chart here, which, let's see. Now, if you add a fib from this this high down to the very low right here, you'll also see that the 618 right here, let's add a level on the 618. Comes in very nicely at that level. And if we add the 50 right here as well, we can add a resistance area between those two, and you'll see that that level comes in perfectly where you have resistance. So looking at the higher time frames, this looks like a solid level for Bitcoin to give us a rejection, right? And a possible trade on that level would be, enter a short here. Might want to take that trade down to the previous range low, which would then be, imagine if you have something like this, a break and retest of range highs, rejection here, down to this level again, and then another bounce here. Well, that's actually a bullish market structure, and that's probably what price action will look like if this is the bottom for Bitcoin. Now, I don't think this is the bottom for Bitcoin, but just imagine if you do have a rounded bottom here, and a break and retest range highs, rejection here, and then a bounce at that level once again. It's probably going to be, I'm also thinking that it's going to be something like this with a bounce inside the reload zone of that move as well, of course. And yeah, so a rejection here. Might want to look for a 2R trade back down to range high. So there's a lot of different ways you can trade this, right? And the way I'm doing this analysis reminds me a lot about the back testing that I'm doing for a. So what I'm doing in the RLZ trading room, I can go to the market update channel right here. So you'll see some fairly interesting stuff here. Just give me a quick second here. Right, so you see right here, this is the RLZ trading room. This is the market update channel right here. You'll see here that this weekend I started, or well, last week we started testing a new trading system inside the Discord. So you can see right here, you have the name, the type of system, timeframes, and what markets. And then I'm writing a description of what the system is all about, right? Because before you start developing a system, you need to actually write what the system is all about. And I showed the process, like a trade ID, what an example of a trade would be, and then we look at the what confluences we are going to track when developing that system. And then we have the first results of the back testing right here on NCD USD, as you can see, which has like the results are interesting, right? But yeah, so if you're interested in this where I go through how to create a trading system from scratch, live, publicly, definitely check out that channel, the market update channel. And we are currently running a discount of 50%. It ends on the 4th of December, and we have limited seats available. So if you're interested in this, check out the link in the description below to find the form to sign up. And the reason why it reminds me of this level right here, because the new strategy that I'm trying to develop, like one of the ideas, the reason why I want to develop this live is because I want to show you guys that you can take a fairly simple approach to trading and technical analysis, and if you have somewhat decent results when back testing and you're getting some good results when live testing, it doesn't really matter. The technical system that you're using doesn't really matter much. What matters is you're staying consistent with that system. You're consistent with risk management and you're following the plan of the system. If you can do that long term consistently with a system that have a decent win rate and profitability, you are going to be able to be profitable. And most of you will see when you start doing that and you start trying to be consistent, that's when you fail. Because most of the problems we make as traders are mental based errors, right? It's not like it's not the fault of the system. It's your mental state of mind and your mental approach to trading, which is most likely going to be your biggest problem when trading. So the whole idea with developing the system is to show you that you can just take a very simple system, test it some, then start trading it. And as long as you are consistent, it's probably going to work out quite well. All right, so back to Bitcoin. I think I've covered most of the stuff I want to talk about Bitcoin. Let's head over to the legacy markets. To see if we have anything setting up. So what we want to do first is we want to look at the alerts, see if we have any interesting alerts on the RLZ slingshot system indicator. We do have a short setup on USD CHF. We are already in a trade on, I believe, CAD CHF. It looks very good. So this is the trade we're currently in. So if we're gonna enter anything else on, well, you know, like CAD and USD moves, like they're quite similar to each other. So if we're gonna be shorting USD CHF as well, which we can, because this trade is like we only have 25% of the position still open because we're taking profits. So this actually might make sense, and I think there's two ways of drawing the fibs here. Either we draw it from that high to that low, or we draw it from that high to that low. Now, which one I choose depends on where the fib levels align best, and also how this move looks on a 1 hour. If it's two very clear moves on a 1 hour, I might select one of them. And I would say that at least this move is very clear on the 1 hour. And if I do add the fibs of that move, we want to see these levels, like these candles, align perfectly with the levels of the fib, which let's see if they do. Well, kinda. Let's add another one. This one. It did hit the 50 here quite nicely though. But I think it kind of makes sense to look at this fib. And you also see the 4-hour 20 EMA confluent with the 15 weekly open. But the problem here is that this would be the trade, right? We want to enter somewhere here. And I have a feeling that price action might be running away from us here. And the average R this trade, it needs to be, I mean, it needs to be above 2. I don't think this would be a very good trade. So I'm going to keep this on my list. I'm going to be adding some alerts on this one, but I don't think this is going to be a trade. Maybe if the entry is very clear, maybe if we, like if we have strong confirmation, if price hits this level, and we can perhaps have our stop loss here, which is not a good idea. But if we can, maybe based on like the 1 hour or something, this would be a very profitable trade. Maybe even up here. I don't know. Let's keep the alerts on here to see what happens. We have ADJPY, short on ADJPY. It's in a range. We don't really want to. Yeah, this is not going to be a trade. GBP AUD. Whoa. Fuck, did I miss this one? Holy shit. Well, that's an interesting trade. Yeah, all right. So the reason that we didn't enter orders for this one was because the risk to reward was just simply too low. It's too low on this one, but it worked out great. I know one member of the community did take this trade, so congratulations to you, Mo. I think it's Mo. Good one. Next trade on this one, obviously quite simple. Would be this would be the fib of the next trade. I think that's a pretty decent idea as well. So we're going to be adding some alerts on that one right there. Right, GBP AUD, good one. Have it on the orange list. So I'm gonna go through the orange list right after this as well. Euro AUD, maybe, probably not. But alert. NCD JPY. No way. CAD CHF. Yes. It's amazing how, like, it's just, look at this. Just look at this. With multiple, like, 3 short. It's like the indicators is telling us that, you know, short here. You need to short here. It's amazing. And honestly, like, even this weird short here would have been quite profitable. So we have AUD CHF. Not much going on right here. Just very, very weird range that we got on. It makes no sense. GBP NCD. Nope, nothing here. Nothing here. Right, so now we're back at on Friday. So let's Friday? This is Sunday. What happened on Algo? Nice. Well, at least the indicator shorted the right level though, but it's, you know, no trade here. I do, however, like Algo for a possible short here if Bitcoin gets rejected higher. If there's no trade on Bitcoin, there might actually be a short trade on Algo right here. So this looks good. I'm gonna add that to the altcoin list. So let's see if we can perhaps get a short in on the weekly open for Algo, and we then have a interesting trade. So we're gonna be looking at Algo. And that's another short on Algo, right? So let's remove all the alerts. I think I'm done with the alerts. Now let's go through the, actually we can go through the green list to see if any of these shorts that we had covered a couple of weeks ago, if they are still interesting. And I do think they are. And the setup would be quite similar. We got Algo. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look for scenarios where that aligns with the Algo short right here. So we got Cardano. This would be the trade somewhere here. Just trade it to, you know, a new low. How's Dodge looking? I don't know what's going on here. Why is this bullish? I saw a dog. In the COVID protests, and it was the same dog as the dog on the dog coin. So I'm thinking, because this worthless token is just pumping for no reason. It's just so weird, this one. Gotta be the most manipulated altcoin ever. Such a joke. Anyway, joke or not, looks ready for a long, which is just feels weird. Like, obviously we're not gonna long this, but it would be a really good long though. So yeah, if you want a long dodge or whatever you want to call it, probably now is a good time to do so. I mean, even if we have a fairly wide stop loss all the way down here, that would still be a pretty good risk to reward trade. And you see the minus 0.618 here aligns very nicely with the resistance area up here. So Dodge actually looks pretty interesting for long, which is weird, because everything else, we want to short everything else. AVAX, we got possible trade on AVAX here, which would be a short up here, but I don't know, like, it's not perfect. Right, so what I'm thinking is like Algo, ADA for shorts, Dodge for long, but why would we want to long an altcoin though when Bitcoin is about to move? Looks like it wants to move lower. Like, it makes very little sense. This is weird. All right, so let's take a look at the orange list. That's the green list. We have a couple of. We do have a couple of. Lots of these coins are on FTX. Probably should remove those. Man, I need to make new lists. Right, okay. Link. What's happening on Link? Well, I'm happy to say that this trade finally hit the TPs. Yes, that's right. I'm from Sweden. Yeah, Link. It's nothing going on Link. You know what? Let's. I'm just gonna remove that. Lit. Nothing here. Litecoin. Well, it's weird. This one is pretty weird. I don't know what's happened here. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just keep this on. Matic, possible short. I'm gonna move that up. Maker, nothing. I don't even know what this is. I don't know what any of these are do. Most likely they don't do anything. Like most altcoins, they have like zero use case, zero utility. It's just a vehicle to trade and make money. That's an interesting trade. Maybe we're gonna move that up. BNB. Yeah, let's take a look at BNB after this. Vet also is a possible short. If you guys who have access to these lists, you can just go in and check the list yourself. This one is interesting. All right. Let's look at the BNB as well. Wow, look at that one. That's a good one. I'm gonna take a closer look at that one, but because maybe I'm working on. Yeah, that's actually looking pretty good. So I'm working on a book, which is called the RLZ Slingshot Playbook, which is is going to be available as a handbook to all the program students. And I'm trying to find the setup examples of the RLZ Slingshot system, which aligns perfectly with all the indicators. And this one is definitely one of those. So I'm just gonna make a copy of this one. Copy BNB RLZ playbook trade idea. Gotta do the date as well, so I know where to look. So BNB, let's remove this, and then we're going to be looking at BNB. So let's look at the daily first. Like the daily, it's not really telling us much, other than the fact that maybe like it's a big level though. Like maybe it's retesting that level. And if we add the fibs here, the 50% is actually quite lower. Almost test that though. So it's like almost. So if we look at this from a purely price action perspective, you'll see that this is a decent retest of that support area, and the -618 comes in perfectly at that high. So the trade here for me on BNB would be perhaps something like this. I'll just add the indicators to see what happens. Yeah, it's the daily EMAs are quite nice here. They're in a good confluence here. The stop loss makes little sense. Let's keep that lower, maybe even below that level right there. The average R would only be 2 on this, but I think this would be an interesting trade on BNB. But I'm not going to take this because it's not according to my system. But if you're watching this and you're liking what you're seeing and it kind of lines up with whatever your ideas are, maybe it would make sense for you to take this trade. Right, so before I end the live stream, I'm gonna go through the orange list once again. This is a failed long we had on silver. That trade is gone. Let's move that down. So silver, is this a one or second list? I think this is a second. GBP CHF, is this a one or two? This is a one. UK 100, it's bouncing quite nicely here. This is a pretty good bounce though. Maybe, just maybe, we might have some sort of trade here. Probably not, it's a bit too high, but it's interesting. So that's going to be a 1. Euro 50 is going to be a 2. You know what? It's going to be a 1 just because it's such a clear trend. And the Nike here, very, very clear area as well. This is the level that we have wanted to see retested. So definitely have to keep this on the first list. German 40, well, it's going to be the first list just because it's a clear trend. US 100 seems to be testing the reload zone right now, which it is. So interesting on that one. NCD JPY, that's a 2. US 30 gonna have it on the first list just because of the trend. Gold, gold is interesting, right? We're watching something like this for gold. I'd like to see something like this. That would be an interesting long trade on gold. So we're keeping that on the first list. NCD CAD, strong trend. That's also first list. AD NCD, keeping that one on the first list. NCD CHF, same thing here. NCD USD also looking quite strong, so we're going to keep that on the first list as well. This is quite successful trade we took last week, and I'm thinking we might have a new trade on NCD USD if it moves lower into the reload zone here as well. So let's go through the second list if we have anything that can be upgraded to the first list. USD CAD, nothing here. Euro AUD, still second. AUD CAD is going to be first. So I usually do these, like this is very strong. So I usually do these scans and kind of reorganizing of the list on Monday, so that I know what to cover throughout the week. All right, so Euro CAD, that's the first list. Now we have Euro GBP, which, like, it would be a short because of the moving averages. But then if you look at this from a purely price action perspective, this would definitely be the area to long if we come down and test that level. But I'm not done testing that system, so I can't take this trade until I've done more back testing, which I'm probably going to do after the live stream. Euro USD, now this is interesting as well. Put that on the first list. GBP USD is also on the first list. AD USD, it's gonna be on the first list as well. Oil, of course, we're gonna keep that on the first list. All right, so there's some pretty strong, some quite strong trends here. Which definitely looks interesting. So that's the first list. We've got a long first list today, this week to cover. So, all right, guys, that's it for today's live stream. Now you know my thoughts on Bitcoin and Bitcoin and some. So these are the ideas on Bitcoin that we covered, and also altcoins. We were looking at a couple of shorts on altcoins, and a long on Dodge, but that's probably not going to be very interesting. Maybe, I don't know. We're going to be checking that out to see what happens. But that's it. All right, guys, thanks for joining, and let's. I hope to see you all in the next live stream tomorrow at around or I don't know, like 1400 UTC. I'm going live with Aperture and another guy on another channel, and we're going to be talking about the overall macroeconomics and the state of the crypto market and Bitcoin, and what we think is likely to happen in the next few months for the global markets, including Bitcoin. So definitely check that out. A link will be posted on Twitter and in the Discord of that one as well. All right, guys, take care and see you guys in the